welcome back to the Deposit That podcast. Today I'm sitting here with a friend who I met back in Tampa at the 2020 Vision Summit. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you so
Welcome
much.
to New York City.
Yeah, well, I love it. I love being here. It's so fun.
So when you come here, do you kind of feel like overwhelmed, fast-paced, and force yourself
No.
to slow down, or are you like up with the speed?
Oh, no. Well, we live on 21 acres.
Okay.
So for us, it's definitely a fast pace. But no, I mean, I'm used to the city. I'm used to Washington, D.C., where, we're from. And we have the worst traffic in the world. You think you do, but it's ranked #1 there. So it's terrible.
I can't stand traffic.
I hate it. I hate it. But no, we love coming here because we've come for so many years. We know where we'd like to go, what we'd like to do. And
Sure.
yeah, it's
So
fun.
I tell everyone, look, it's a podcast, but it's more of an experience, right? People call up all the time like, oh, I want to be on the show. I'm like, well, look, unless you're coming to New York City, you can't because everything's done in person. Like I want you to take the train. I want you to take the subway. I want you to take the ferry. I want you to walk around New York City. I want you to see the buildings. And they're like, okay, I'll let you know when I'm coming to New York City.
Right, right. Well, and it was ironic because we just met, like what?
A month ago.
Yeah. A month ago.
Sure.
And I said, oh, well, ironically, I'm going to be speaking at an event. So let's do it. Yeah.
And like, we got to book it.
Yeah.
So tell us about who you are, what you've been up to, your mortgage career, and now you say you run 4 businesses. Tell us a little about how you do all that.
So, so I left, transitioned out of mortgages and last year in May in 2018 after 35 years. And actually, there's a few more years in there, but I don't add those up.
Stop counting.
Yeah, I don't add those up because I was delivering title policies on my bike because we didn't have fax machines or anything like that.
Courier
so my
service.
bicycle, I was in college. That's what I was
So
doing.
they still do that here in New York City.
Oh, I'm
now.
sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure they
everything's
do.
courier.
Yeah. So that's how I kind of started with all that. And, most of my career, I wouldn't say most, I'd say half my career was management, sales management. I was an underwriter for a long time, and then I became a sales manager for a major institution and, regional manager. And then I decided I was tired of babysitting people. And everyone knew where I was all the time, and that was bothering me because they always needed me.
Even before the iPhone location. Right?
Yeah. But I mean, I had to tell everybody where I was always at, and so I decided, you know what, I want to be an originator too. If I can't beat them, I'm going to join them. And with my underwriting experience, I was ready.
Sure.
I was ready to go.
You know how to structure a deal. You know what to look for.
That was like the easiest part. So I became a roaming underwriter, and actually my path was, I was given. As all of us were. Well, back then, all of us were given rate sheets and donuts and told to go.
I remember those days. I was raised in those days.
And because your dad is.
Yeah.
And so I ate the donuts and threw away the flyers because I had never got the courage to go in. I hated cold calling. I hate it today. I won't do it. I never have done it in my practice. Yeah. And so I just decided that I was going to be the educator. And what I did is I set out to educate realtors, and I became a roaming coach with them, really. And that was how I created the market influence for myself, was being the official educator.
Standing out.
Yeah, and creating, I created over 26 hours of CE courses that I taught and still teach.
Wow, still to this day.
Yep.
So you wrote your own curriculum and all that?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. It's actually part of my high level coaching program. My clients get it. They get the whole thing. They don't have to write it.
So you coach them, and they simultaneously get.
Oh yeah, they get
awesome.
that too. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they get that too, and I encourage them to do that type of thing because it makes them a market influencer. It's really helpful for credibility.
So I want to dive deep into your opinion in the psychology of babysitting, right? Because so in 2010, I had a monster. When I say monster year, for a 23-year-old, a monster year was $18 million in purchase origination business in the New York City marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, 60, 70, 80, whatever it was, deals. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't continue to do this on my own. Let me try and recreate myself. Let me bring people in and train them. And all it was babysitting. Literally babysitting. Why is that, though, in the mortgage business in particular? I'm sure it's every industry.
Well,
but
and I think, in the context of what I was talking about for babysitting is I was babysitting other loan officers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not teams, because we didn't do teams back then.
There were no teams.
But it was just, helping them with sales calls and scripting and what do I say? And, I can't tell you how many times I sat with a loan officer and got their panties in a wad, about we're making phone calls right now, and I don't know what to say. Right. But when I mean by babysitting, now, like what you're talking about, because I have so much experience in management, I'm really good at hiring people and hiring rock stars.
Is that because you know what to look for?
I know what to look for. There's a lot of technique behind it, and again, in my high program, that's what we do is we work on the team leader, and becoming a leader. I just think by attrition, people are managers. By attrition, people are leaders. And there's really no training on how to actually manage different people and personalities and skill sets and whatnot.
Sure.
And so for me, as a manager back then, that was fine. Today, the problem is we get to a capacity and we say, I need somebody. And we just hire someone.
Just to fill a spot.
But we don't have it. We don't have the rules laid out. We don't have the tranches really deep. And as loan officers, we have egos and we feel like we have to do everything.
Sure. And which we do a lot of times.
We feel like we have to, yeah. And then what we do is we point fingers at them and say they were horrible when we should be pointing thumbs at ourselves.
And there's no policies, procedures saying,
right,
saying the processor messed up. I didn't mess up,
Yeah, I screwed this up. I didn't hire the right person. I wasn't clear about it. And I think that once you do that, you can build a really good team. So you want to build, you want to hire rock stars. You can't be out singing and saying, hold on, everybody, my drummer doesn't know this, so I got to go back here and do it. And so I wanted to hire people that I could always be singing.
Interesting.
And they could do everything else.
So how has the mortgage career allowed you to evolve into different industries, different paths that you probably never thought you'd be on, or at this point in your life you'd be on?
Yeah. Again, for me right now, the joy is if I can accelerate someone's success. You don't have to take 35 years to learn all the failures and mistakes and successes that I had. If I can cram that into a shorter period of time and get you where you need to go really fast, I'm a great gap builder, right? I can see gaps 100 miles away and tell you what's wrong with your business in probably 10 minutes, right? And it's just a skill set that I have, but I love helping people that way. And when they're successful, that brings me the joy. I mean, it truly does. That's where I'm at in the practice now. It's not about the technicality of the loan, even though I'm a master at it. It's about people. It's about helping people grow. And I think, this is when I came out with my book, 3 years ago or 2 years ago. I was in a BNI, and every time I went on a one-to-one, I was coaching them.
Right.
And then I walked away going, hey,
I'm not making money off this.
I didn't get in business from this, right? Yeah. And I just wanted to strangle them. And so when I started my book, started the book, and we said, well, what's the name of it? And I said, shut the fuck up and go do it. Just shut up and stop talking about it and go do it.
Right.
Go do it. But then I realized people don't know how to do things. They know what to do.
And they're fearful. They're insecure.
Right. And that's why, because they know what to do. I know I got to make calls. I know I have to do this, but I don't actually know how to do it. So that's what I'm here to do, show people how to do things instead of just go do it.
So walk me through the philosophy of that, right? So somebody comes to you, they're like, I know I need to make calls. What's the first thing you do? Is it instilling confidence in them or giving constructive criticism? What's your model?
Yeah, well, it goes way back. It goes way back into a mindset is who are we going to call? You can't just make calls. Right. Who are you going to call? What's your purpose? Why? What's the intention? Are you calling a top producing agent who's a pain in the ass? Right? Or are you calling someone who's not producing and they're wonderful and they're ready to grow and expand with
respectful,
you?
Appreciative.
Yeah. What is it that you're trying to target? And it stems back into there's something called Fascination Advantage, and I use that with my coaching by Sally Hogshead. And what it is that are you familiar with disc profiling?
I've done
a few people.
I've done a few of them,
and I do a bunch of it. I'm an expert at it. But disc is who you are, right? Fascination Advantage is how the world sees you. And so if you're very quiet, but you see that some other loan officer has this really cool logo and all this stuff, and you start trying to take on their logo, it's counterintuitive to who you are. And so it isn't attractive, right? It's not attracting people. It's making you have to chase.
Sure.
And so what we do is we stop back and we say, okay, so how does the world see you? And if the world sees you in that manner, then we want to go out and we want to attract those type of people. And that means we're going to target those type of people. So before we even make a phone call, we have to figure out who you are and who you want to talk to. Then we work on, I hate scripting. I just call it, catchphrases, right? Just quick catchphrases that get you into scripting.
So how do you feel? I personally feel from, again, my experience, which is different than the majority of the mortgage industry, being that I started when I was basically 20 years old.
Yeah. Remember what I told you when we were down in Tampa? Yeah. I said, say that you're in it for 56 years from the womb.
Yeah. Hey, might as well. 32, right?
Right. 32 years from the womb.
It's
from
true.
the womb. That's what my son used to say.
It's funny, right? Yeah. So I feel like, truthfully, because I was talking to the guy Bruce Lund last night on
Oh
Facebook,
yeah,
just BSing back and forth.
yeah.
He said, I was in Hoboken last weekend. I should have reached out to you. I'm like, yeah, well, why don't you tell me after the fact? Like,
Right,
which is just
right,
now,
right.
But anyway, so the people that didn't get wiped out in 2008 and 9, right,
Yeah.
have literally been hanging on, in my opinion, for deal life for a decade.
Yeah, because they're still doing the same thing.
Same thing, didn't change
That's
anything,
why.
didn't implement anything. They
Right.
literally are going down the same path. But I don't necessarily, this is coming from a leader standpoint, talking to followers, I don't believe them as followers had the right leadership from management to really pull them up that mountain. I mean, I can still talk to people that are still in the business today that still revert back to psychology from 05, 06, 07. I'm like, I don't care what you made in 05, 06, 07. Like, what are you doing today? How have you evolved your business? And I feel like management has really failed them in bringing them up to speed.
Oh, I definitely think so. And now, I mean, leadership is a big word that we're using now, right? Leadership. I mean, we're not even using customer service as a word anymore. It's customer experience. It's how they feel having worked with you, right? So leadership is a huge word. And that's why I dedicate a lot of that in the high end, because the low end, they're not leaders yet. We need to just get loans,
educated followers.
We just need to get loans. But on the high end, it's like, how can you be the best? And with Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, we want to get you in that right quadrant so that you are a business owner and so that you can have the longevity that I had in the business, because we can't go at the pace we go. When you first start, you can't. Eventually, you're going to need help. No, it's never going to be sustainable. And so you have to level up your leadership skills along the way. And part of that leadership is being the leader in the relationship with your referral partners, being the leader in the relationship with your borrowers, not letting them tell you how it's going to go.
Yeah, you're taking control.
Right. And then honing in on your your management skills so that when you do hire, and I hate the word assistant, because in my team, I'm just one of the parties. I happen to be the lead person.
Full teamwork.
But it's all team. My role is to get business, right? And so that's why you have to be the rock star. So it's a production partner. It's a relationship manager, right? Sure. It's not an assistant.
No, I hate that word assistant.
And plus clients think you're giving it down and not over and up. Sure. And they're better than me at this stuff anyway. I didn't pull credit for probably 10, 15 years. Before I retired. I wouldn't even know how to log on to stuff.
Interesting.
I know it. I just don't need to log on. It's not my job.
But you got to figure out what you're good at.
And so if we can start doing that, and now with millennials, and to use that word, I hate that word too, but with the younger generation coming up, these are words that we're hearing. We're hearing community. We're hearing customer experience. We're hearing leadership.
Sure.
And these skills you guys are going to possess to bring the next generation on that this generation doesn't have, because it just wasn't there. I mean, it was very strong leadership for a long time. It was management.
There's more of a hierarchy, like dominant. Like
it was. Yeah, and give me a report and all those kinds of things. But it wasn't really about the psyche or the NLP of people. Sure. Really knowing the neurological process that goes with people, and so working with people and understanding exactly who they are and how they work, I will change. It's called situational leadership. My situation will change, and the way I manage will change based on the person I'm working with.
What's your vision as far as technology being implemented ever more so into the mortgage and real estate field today? Yeah. Is this something that you think is going to keep pushing loan officers out, or is it something that
it's not going to push? It's never going to push loan officers out, because people still want that community and that relationship. And this is one of the things I talk about. I'm on Mortgage Coach with Dave Savage every Friday, and one of the things that we talk about all the time is that Quicken's easy to beat. By the way, there's some little techniques I can tell you about. But Quicken, you can beat them every time. But the thing that we can't do what Quicken does. We can't have a Super Bowl ad. We can't do that.
We don't have the budget.
We don't have the budget. But they can't come to our community. They can't go to the local Subway owner and do an interview and do that type. Yeah, they can't do that.
The interpersonal part of it.
Right. So, but if you're not doing that, if you have a facade of scarcity and abundance, right? Sure. I used to think that I don't need any help. I've got this. See me. I'm all woman. Hear me roar, kind of thing. I don't need any help. Right. And I thought that was abundance. Yeah. It's actually scarcity.
Completely.
Right? Because it's not opening myself up and being vulnerable and saying, I could use some help, right? In my practice.
But that's also, I believe, how you were taught or managed or trained to think,
Well, and especially me, because I'm one of the first women in the industry, right?
Sure.
And so, be a guy and be strong. And there's that part to me that you don't want to mess with, right? But I think that's really, a key factor, for everybody, man or woman, is letting that guard down, and being real. But if we're just kind of walking around trying to be professional, and you've heard of the book Jab, 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 Hook, right?
Yep.
So we need to let social media be social. We need to be on there showing them with our kids, your son, right? We need to be on there showing with the kids. We need to be showing them the fun things that we're doing, the jab, 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 jab. And then, oh, by the way, I'm a lender. Here's a loan that closed, rather than going, here's an article, here's this.
Sharing everyone else's content.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But go to your business page and do stuff there.
Sure.
But for your social page, leave it social. Let people know who you are.
Well, so I was, look, when I had managers who were 50, 55, 60 years old, I didn't know anything. I told the story yesterday, actually. I'm like, I'm not going to listen to your advice. I'm going to listen to you, but I'm not going to listen to your advice when it comes to something that I know that I was brought up in. I mean, I was the second .edu to be on Facebook. I was high school 05. 04 was the first ones that were allowed to be on Facebook. Remember, it was only for college kids, right? So I was waiting.
You're the same age as my son.
Yeah, I was waiting to get my college email just so I can get on Facebook, right? And people were like, you got to keep work and personal separate. You got to. So they started saying it, and I'm like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. I'm like, I'm who I am, But you have these higher ups that are barking, and you're supposed to listen to these people, and you're like, I don't respect you. I really don't like you, and you're giving me the wrong advice.
Yeah, and you're not on Facebook.
Right? Or if you are, you don't have a picture up. You know, you have 3 friends. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how, truthfully, though, somebody who's young and impressionable, a lot of their early career can be held back by people who are giving them the wrong information.
I have people like that. I have a gal that I'm coaching. Her whole family is builders. And when she started coming to me, she was doing she had come to me, been in the business for a year and a half, and had done 3 loans.
18 months, 3 months. Like, what are you doing?
Wait a minute, your family's a builder. What the heck? So I talked to her. I just talked to her the other day. I said, how'd we end up for the month? 6 fundings. In a month, not 3 and 18 months, right? And she's been with me, for like 5 or 6 months, and she's a millennial. And I said, and then she said, well, I'm a millennial, and they won't like me. And I go, that's an advantage.
And you're negative.
You're not rusty.
Right.
You're not rusty. And so she got over that mindset, and now boom, here she
confidence,
goes.
Right? It's confidence.
Yeah, and her degree was in fashion. She went to Parsons. Her degree's in fashion, and she's like, but I really like fashion. I go, then share that.
Be the fashionable mortgage girl.
Yeah, then share it. I mean, I had a guy I hired years ago as a Marine.
They're the best employees, veterans.
Oh yeah, well, because immediately honest, trust, all those
organized
things. So we put that on there. We said Marine loan officer, and I had another loan officer who was a skydiver, and I put skydiving loan officer. Put a little guy diving on your card, and it brings up those conversations. Community. But if you covet that, I mean, I would be a dancing loan officer, right? Because I dance. But it's really cool. But it gets. You said something about integration of
technology.
work and business and stuff. And the one thing I'm gonna share with you is that I don't believe in balance. You asked that question before we went live, right? I don't believe in balance because I think when you're balanced, you're 50% in everything. Think about a scale. It's 50-50.
Sure,
you're not quite there.
Sure.
I don't believe in integration because it's not sustainable. It'll last for a while, but it's not sustainable. What I do believe in is being all in and all out, right? And so think about every time that you go on vacation, how productive you are before you go on vacation.
We try to be.
Right. I mean, stuff gets done, right? You're like, woo, look at this. I should go on vacation more often. I'm getting deals, right? All this stuff.
Can't believe I'm going away on vacation.
I know. So what if you could go on vacation every day?
Right.
What if you could work like you were going on vacation every day? That vacation is you doing what fulfills you. Instead of saying, I wish I could work out more. I wish I could hang out more with my friends. I wish I could spend more time with my family. I wish I could do this. But to have that every single day. So come in, be extremely intentional, which is why I focus on the fascination advantage and knowing who you are.
Sure.
So you have your brand emphatically so that you're attracting people instead of chasing. You have a couple of niches, which I had niches, and that's the best thing, right?
Sure.
So you have a couple of niches. This saves time, right? And then come in, be intentional, work, and then leave at 3:00 and don't answer your phone and go do what you love to do.
Right.
And that is how I do have that many businesses, because I have all that time carved out. I'm intentional. I know exactly what I'm doing with each one of them, and I'm faster at getting it done than most people instead of letting time ooze. Right.
So do you eventually find the mortgage business to, obviously it's going to compress compensation wise, and you have a lot of fat on the bones, if you will, right?
Yeah, but when the fat's trim, it's still going to be really
lean. It's going to be lean.
It's still going to be really good money compared to other jobs.
Comparative to what you do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So stick it out. Stick it out.
So do you believe eventually, like, the sales managers are going to be gone and people are going to be more inclined to get a coach like yourself, or they're going to be able to go on a webinar and hear somebody speak? Because I feel like most sales managers check in, check out, they're washed up, they're not good, they don't care, they literally
and they're worried about
money.
their own business,
of course.
And those that don't have their own business and they're not a producing manager can't.
Right.
That's why they're not.
Right.
Right. Correct. So why would you learn from them? Yeah, I think it's a new era of coaching. I call it coaching. I think it's an era of mentorship. I think that for me is a key change in the terminology right now. Because I don't want a coach. I want mentors. I want to be able to make decisions on my own. And I have coaches, right, and mentors.
I look at coaches as a paid position, and a mentor as an unpaid position. That's how I.
I know. Yeah, but I think it's changing.
I'm like, oh, what are you not paying me?
To me, that's an advisor.
Yeah,
to me, that's an advisor. To have an advisory committee, that kind of thing. But a mentor, is going to see, is that third eye, is going to see the blind spots. A coach is just going to tell you what to do. Right. It's highly directive.
Well, there's different styles of coaching, also, I believe.
Right. It's highly directive. It's, use my form, use these, like look at the core. It's like, blah, 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 make these calls, But that doesn't fit everybody. And I think that's what mentorship is about is well, how do you want to work? And really challenging you to say, I don't know how I want to work. I just was told to get loans. Well, let's figure out how are you going to create a brand for yourself and create some credibility so that you don't have to struggle so much.
It was funny when I started early in the business. I'm talking about like as a
teenager doing post-closing, because I had my kids doing that.
as like a legitimate like human being at the age of 19. So I would shadow loan officers, but basically I was their bitch. Just call it what it is, right?
Yep.
Literally, and then I'd be like, oh, your kid has a game tonight at 6? Leave at 4:30.
I'll take it.
And then I would literally sit there for 3 hours until like 7:30, like handling the calls, handling the paperwork, tying up loose ends, like watching the market, like tell a client, look, you're locked in. At the time, rates were like 6.5%.
Yeah.
Hey, you're locked in at 6.5%.
Yeah.
I watched the market, and then I would watch it drop down to 6.25, but they still were thinking they're locked in at 6.5. And I'd be like, hey, I got you 6.25.
Right.
And I was a hero.
Right.
What do you mean? I thought we were getting 7%.
I have bad news and good news.
Yeah. So it was funny because I always said I needed to follow all these people I didn't want to be like, right? Yeah. To learn what not to do and try and pull one thing that I liked that each one of them
just
implemented.
The nuggets.
Yeah, like one little thing, because I didn't want to be like 95% in the industry, but I wanted to implement one thing that I thought that each one of them did great. So I developed my own system and structure based on watching others and just taking what I liked and didn't like.
Right. And that's what happens when you're, with management, is that everybody does it the same way. Correct. And I think with coaching, that can happen too, is like, I coach this way, so you're going to learn from me that way. I've really changed and I did this from the very beginning, is I don't want to be a coach that tells you what to do. And I actually heard someone say this. Another person said, the one thing I didn't like I said, tell me about the coaching you had. And they said, well, I didn't like about the coaching is that when we got on the phone, this is another coach, when we got on the phone, they just said, well, tell me what's going on in your business. And I thought, oh, do I say that? And I thought, but then I thought, that's what I want to know as a coach. And it's the best way to mentor you is to know what's going on. How are you feeling this week? What happened good? What happened bad? What do we need to improve on? Right. So that I can be the person who's guiding and pulling you and giving you that, don't step there, step here, jump here. And so I think that person wanted someone to tell them what to do. That's not my client. That is not my client. I don't work with people that want me to tell them what to do. That can be left for a manager in an office if someone's at that point, I work with successful people that are losing sleep at night saying, I'm doing everything right, but why can't I get past that?
And nothing's clicking.
And I can come in and say, here's why. This is why that's happening. You're successful. You know how to do loans. You know how to get leads. You want more leads, but you know how to get them. Not, I'm about to pick up the phone and I have no idea what to say.
And I don't know how to structure a mortgage.
Yeah, and I mean, I can do that, but to me, that's the babysitting. It's like, here's how you spell mortgage. Here's how you use a calculator. I'm past that now. My clients are people that are just going, how do I go to the next level? How do I get there? And I'm struggling because I'm working like a dog, and I say, let's teach you how to not work like a dog. Let's teach you how to get the right people on your team so you can have a great life of quality.
Quality life, sure.
Yeah.
So, being that you've been in the business for 35 plus years, right? You've obviously experienced the downturn, the cycles, the roller coaster, the slowdown in the 80s, slowdown in the 90s, slowdown into early 2000s. You saw 2008. You saw the death
Well,
of
and last year.
12 and 13. Last year when rates in the quarter four went up to a lot, to 5%. Which again, I think we should still be there rates wise. Obviously, the government dropped everybody, and gave these lenders a second life, a lifeline. So spoiled. I tell everyone, look at your W-2, take 40% off, and that's actually what you should have made this year, because that 40% were refinances that you closed for the people the year before.
Right.
You shouldn't have that income. So if you made $300,000 this year,
you
should be at 180. Like, let's just call a spade, right?
Right.
And they clearly don't like hearing that, because it's a fact and it's a straight hit in the face, but it's the truth, right? So what is your advice to people? Obviously, we know a slowdown is coming.
Oh, yeah.
What is your advice to survive the slowdown?
Yeah. What we've been focusing on, and I've been saying this, short-term gain for long-term pain, is redirection right now into refi. You're getting that short-term gain. You're going to have some long-term pain again. And what's worse about it is thinking about your database. How many loans did you miss in this refi because you're not nurturing your database, you're neglecting them?
Stop prospecting, stop talking to your realtors.
Right,
but
you never did it anyway. Right. And we asked the question yesterday at the New York, what was it called? The New York Real Estate Expo yesterday. We asked the question, how many of you, real, be honest, like fall on the sword of truth. How many of you are calling your past clients?
None of them.
One person raised their hand, and we had a room of 125 people. Right? One person.
Think about it. Less than 1%.
It's not. It's like 0.000. Right? And so for me, it was always about my database. Always. And you can ask my husband. He got so sick of it, and he's in the business.
Is she telling the truth over
and
here?
I'm here. Yeah. He go, are we doing the database thing again? Are we doing the database thing again? And I go, yep, we are, because we were constantly analyzing the database. There's so much intel about your business and your practice in that database.
And you've already closed them.
Yeah, you close them. You work your butt off to get that stupid meeting with the realtor. You worked your butt off to get the deal. You fought for the rate, and then halfway through, they decided they might want to go someplace else. So you fought again. You fought it at closing. Then compliance popped up, and then the closing with, you did all this, and then you let them break up with you at closing.
Hit and run.
And you don't even want to talk to them.
The mortgage business is good at hitting and running.
And it's excellent at it, yeah. So, making sure that you have that continuity going on, right? It's future income for you. So I would say right now, if you're not talking to your database, you need to talk to your database. Even if they've refinanced with someone else, I don't care.
Whatever.
You need to be pulling more people in your database because they've been orphaned by some loan officer who's left them alone, right? So adopt them into your database. Do mortgage planning with them. Keep in touch. Do a client appreciation party. Call them and just say hello. See how they're, I'm doing air quotes, season was, right? Like, how's your fall going? How's it been? Are the kids back in school? How was your holiday?
Are you ready to upgrade, ready to downsize?
Yeah, or not even Tessa. Just be there with them and really nurture and love on your community, and they will be loyal to you. And so when the next refi boom comes, you're going to get 2x, 3x of the business. Think about how much you've left on the table. You might think you're making a ton of money right now, but you've actually left a ton of money on the table.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think we're in the world, but specifically the business where people leave money on the table all day long. They'd rather chase that one deal and make $5,000 on, but they left $40,000 on the table.
Yeah,
or whatever the number is.
Yeah, and so I would say right now is, get to know your database really well. Continue to grow your database. Ask people who's managing their mortgage. It's one of my favorite things. Who's managing your mortgage? The response is going to be Wells Fargo. Nope. You're making your payments to them. Who's managing it for you, right? And even if you're calling them and you're saying, gosh, I'm so afraid to make that phone call. I haven't talked to him in 15 years. It's, hey, Jeff, it's Jen. I bet you weren't expecting my call, were you? Oh, no, how are you doing? Great. Well, listen, the reason I'm calling is I've been so remiss in not, connecting with you for so long. And I was just thinking about you the other day. It's not, I was going through my database. I was just thinking about you the other day, and I want to reach out and see how things are going, how you doing. And so imagine you probably refinanced. At some point, yeah, we did. We actually refinanced. We actually sold that house. Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I would love the opportunity to manage your mortgage. I was terrible at it, but I'm going to be great at it. I want to be the person that you can go to for your mortgage.
Interesting.
And managing, just continually managing their mortgages and helping them answer questions about. And so you may not refinance them there, but now they're connected to you. And so they're going to send their friends. They're going to refinance with you at some other point in time. But the key thing on that is if you have a good relationship with them now, is to call them and say, this is not the breakup, but call them now and say, hey, it's Jen. I imagine you heard about rates being really low. And I imagine your servicer is connecting with you and talking to you about refinancing. But as your lender, I would like to chat with you about it. Let's have a conversation because I think they're going to go a little lower. This may not be the right time.
You should sell that. That's a great script. You should sell that script for like $5 a person.
Right. And that's all it is because it just differentiated me between you have a servicer, I'm your lender.
Right.
They think they're their lender.
They're collecting the payments. I gave you that mortgage.
Right. Yeah. So as your lender, I'd love to have that conversation with you. Let's chit chat about whether or not this is the right time because it may not be. We may be getting another little drop here, and it's not about chasing the rate, but there may be other things in your life that you need to do it now. But let's talk about it.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah, solid advice.
And so, very easy conversation to have with a client, and we just don't do it. We don't do it. We just go out and look for the next one.
We're lazy.
Yeah. This is my favorite line. Everybody who knows me says, but we act like cats on a marble floor in oil all the time.
Why is that?
Because that was the way everybody was
Do you think
taught.
that's a true search for happiness, though? At the end of the day, right?
That's
it's like
what
I'm so
all
miserable.
about.
I keep looking for new happiness, and it's like, okay, you got a new relationship, but you fucked it up again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I always say, speed up or slow down to speed up.
Right.
Instead of speeding up to slow down.
Right.
If you slow down and meet your clients, your loan will go through faster. If you just have a 2-second conversation, Zillow just came out with
shit against the wall.
Yep. And Zillow just came out with a statistic on that. The average loan officer spends 8 seconds developing a relationship with their client on the phone. 8 seconds.
Wow.
But if you slow down and develop a really strong relationship, they're less likely to leave you.
That's what I did.
You speed up, you're going to be slowing down all the way through because, hey, I just saw rates. Hey, I just got something in the mail. I want to talk to you about the rates again while you're in the middle of the whole process, right? But yeah, that's what you're saying. This quality of life. I call it life of quality. It's different for me. Quality of life.
Like
Quality of life is me trying to keep up with
life
someone.
Of quality,
Life of quality is on my terms, right? My terms where I'm going to do as much business and more than you. I was in the top 200 several times, right? I'm going to do more business than you in half the time with people that are loyal to me.
Right.
But that's because I slowed down so I could speed it up later.
Interesting. So you obviously travel all over the country, right? Speaking and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you said you were away for like 33 days straight, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Do you see a different business model in every different demographic and state and part of the country you go to, or is it pretty much all unique?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a little bit of both because loan officers are loan officers, realtors are realtors. That's kind of everywhere. But what I do find is that in areas where the values of homes are cheaper, so like me, my average loan amount was $646.
It's a good number.
Yeah.
Healthy.
A lot of people that I'm working with and my clients, their average loan amount, not even 300. Some of them are 180.
Wow.
I've got a guy down let me tell you about her. I have a client down in Alabama. When she first started coaching with me 6 months ago, she was closing 6 to 8 loans a month and has a team. She has the same team. The same team. Now she's closing 38 transactions a month. Wow. 6 months later.
Wow.
We reorganized her team. We got the right people in the right place. We didn't get rid of anyone. We knew we had good talent. We just had to have them in the
different
right
roles.
place. She had to get her mindset that it wasn't about her. She was enabling and not empowering them, right? That's her leadership skills. Mm-hmm. But her average loan amount is 126.
Wow.
126. So the way that they work is a lot different than some of us that are a little snobby in the more, like I live in
6 loans to 1 loan for you and her, right? You do one at 600, she does 6 at 100.
Right. Yeah, to do the same thing.
Right.
And so their skill set, I think, is better.
Because they have more volume.
They have more volume. They know how to manage more of it. They need more assistance in getting their lives lined up. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, up here, the New York City marketplace is like,
yeah.
I want to make 2 points in every deal. My average loan is $500,000. So you want to make $10,000 per loan, huh? But then there's someone in New Jersey that's average loan size is 300,000, and the same loan, different loan amount, they're making $6,000. Is that really warranted? I don't know.
Yeah, a loan is a loan. In
People
my
want to
opinion.
make more money and do less business.
Yeah. Well, we always want to do more units, and I think that it will be that way going forward.
Cost of run a company. Obviously.
Yeah, well, it definitely does. Right. Especially if you have loan officers that are running amok.
Sure. Which most are.
If they're doing a really good job, then it's really good. But we would be doing 75 to 98 million a year, and really good quality business. Over 20 loans a month.
Sure.
So it wasn't because my husband. I mean, my loan amount's 646, but his is like 325 or something like that. He works in a different marketplace.
Different demographic. Sure.
Well, I have a different niche than he does.
Right.
Mine's jumbo VA investor, and his is 80-10-10 first time home buyer. That kind of stuff.
Sure.
And that's what makes it really work. But
it's
I
a healthy
do think
mix of products, though.
Yeah, but I do think that there's two sides to this. Those that have lower loan amounts, I think that their skill set's better because they have to do the better volume
and work harder.
But then there's another side of it too, is when you're working in a jumbo market, you can't be a run amok loan officer.
More professional,
either. It's
very
more professional.
Clean cut.
Yeah, it's very different.
People are more savvy. They've made more money.
Yeah. So there is a difference in that, but other than that, it's all the same thing. I hate realtors. I like realtors. Realtors hate loan officers. They like loan officers. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it's all the same thing. They did. I was in Houston the other day, and they had a panel of realtors up there, and they go, "Okay, so as a loan officer, what makes you upset, or how should we connect with you?" And one goes, "Don't ever call me. I only want text." And the next one said, "I only want you to call me. Don't ever text me." Right? And people are just staring. And these loan officers are so funny. They're like, "Oh, they said do that." So I started writing it down. Don't call. It, yeah. Call. Yeah. Don't call. Text, call. And I said, I got up and I said, "Look, I heard them, but it's not what each one, or how do I say, it's not a general thing.
Sure.
You've got to dig in and find out in the relationship what is best for them."
I think text is a great way to be that buffer between someone that's trying to bullshit waste your time. Like, if we can form a relationship, I don't know you, I'm like, send me a text, we'll schedule a call, right? That's where I've gotten in the past 2.5 years. I stopped originating in May of 2017, right?
Right.
And even since 2011, I was younger than everybody. Right. They're like, "Why the fuck are you texting?" I'm like, well, 70 people want to talk to me right now. I could text you all 69 back, but I'm on the phone with one of them. Right. I can't talk to all 70 at once. Right. So this is my system that I've created to work more efficiently, to respond to you as quickly as possible. Either you're going to like it or you can go somewhere else, right? But I feel like a lot of people want to waste your time. Once you get somebody on the phone, they're talking about the cat in the sky, the birds flying in the tree, and you're like, "I got a business to run here. You want to call and catch up for an hour? Right. Let's schedule coffee on the weekend, or let's figure this out after hours. But this is my crunch time. Yeah. You're on your lunch break. I'm in the middle of the trenches here,
Well, and again, I think that it just depends on the person. Right. It really does. I mean, I'm not really a phone call person. My husband is. He's like, I can't tell you how many times, pick up that phone. Because people say, well, I emailed them and I didn't hear it back. I emailed and I didn't hear back. And he's like, pick up the fucking phone.
Which is true. I do agree with that. There's a place for that.
There definitely is. But I just am more efficient doing a lot of texting. I can get, a whole bunch more done. And especially, and you're a podcaster too. We did stuff by email because we met differently, but no, I don't schedule my podcast. I don't do my bios. I don't ask them to send me pictures. It's all online. You go and you do all that. And when we show up to a podcast, because I have a podcast too, we show up, I've got all your information. I don't have time to mess with that. But see, everybody's a little different. And I think that's really what we have to remember, is that, there's uniqueness in all that we do. And if we take time to learn what that is. And this goes back to DISC, by the way. It really does. Because I'm a D. Mm-hmm. I'm a high I, which I love, 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 love people. And I'm also a D, so I can steamroll over people.
Instantly, yeah.
Yeah, and I used to be in an S and a C, like steady and controlling, because I was an underwriter.
You were the full thing, yeah.
Well, we all are parts of it. But if someone sends me an email that said, I got out of the car and I used my left hand to push with my body, to open the door, to move my foot, to grab the steering wheel, I'm like, oh, shoot me.
Yeah, I want to fall asleep.
I don't want that. Yeah. Just tell me it's done.
Get right to the point.
Done. Great. I do a little thumbs up, right? Done. Great. That's it. Let's move on.
It's so much deeper than that, though, with why they're telling you.
But that only works with somebody else who wants that.
Right.
If you have a client that wants all that detail, You have to do it. And you have to assess that. And that's how you're going to be able to attract more people, is being able to assess how do they work and let me situationally change myself.
So deposit that means when we leave the listeners with tons of things to deposit, we want to close up with the one main thing you want someone to take away from your episode and from your 35 plus years of experience in the mortgage business, being a mom and a wife and everything else.
And a grandma.
What's the one thing you want to deposit to people's brain?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a ton of things, but I'm trying to think of everybody I coach and I talk to, on a regular basis, kind of what the theme is.
What does the world need to hear right now from you?
What the world needs to hear right now is you have to slow down before you can speed up. You've got to take time to figure out, who the hell are you? What makes you different? How can I shine a light on me? And I've got to figure that out, because I'm like everybody else, and it's going to continue to be as competitive as it's been. And there's too much noise. So what are you going to do? Why do I want to work with you? So what? If you get asked that question today, what makes you better than the next loan officer, and you can't answer that question, you've got a big problem. And the answer isn't, I have great rates, I'll close on time, it's going to be smooth. It's bullshit. That's gone. Nobody cares about it. You got me on a soapbox there, because now I'm starting to bring my voice in.
You got keep going.
Yeah, I'm starting, but no, I can't stand that. I mean, I just can't stand that. Don't be like everybody else. Be unique, be different, but you've got to take the time to figure out and assess what that is. There's a mindset piece of it, and then we can move to tactic later, but you got to figure out, who are you and why do I want to work with you? And what's going to make you different than everybody else out there? You're going to be the teacher? Are you going to be the educator? Are you going to be the coach for people? Are you going to be the marketer? Are you going to be the techie guy for the Zoom or for the Zillow for people? What is it that you want to do? For the movie Notebook, at the end he goes, what do you want, woman? What do you want? Right? So who are you? Who are you? Don't be like everybody else. Everybody else is taken. Be yourself, right? So you hear, I should do a podcast. And you hate talking on this and whatever it is, don't do it.
Right.
Do what you love to do. But you got to stop and figure out what it is you love to do. And we just don't take time to do it. We're running amok, and you're wasting a ton of time and a ton of money and your health and your kids, your memories, everything. All of that's going by the wayside because you're trying to figure out what everybody else is doing. Just slow down. This is why, stop talking, take action, and you'll get results.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you have a safe trip back, and I look forward to catching up soon.
All right.